Welcome to the Polaris ship tour with Red J. So, thank you to my long-term subscribers for sticking around. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already. This ship has been long awaited, and it certainly is a nice one to see come out of the backlog. There is one large important room here, the captain's suite, I guess you could call it. Captain's room, if you want to call it that. It is important to note that it is locked. I wanted to go and start in the bridge, which is, I think, one of the more interesting places because it's a true multi-crew vessel, and note some of the flow issues. So I came out of the pilot seat, which I flew here on, and I'm currently standing on the co-pilot seat, which has these weird little, I don't know, guarding gate, I guess you'd call them, type fences that are blocking you from being able to just jump between the stations. To the center is the captain's seat, which just has two small MFDs, one on each side, and then to the left and the right of the back of the bridge is your remote turret operators. I want to note that the remote turret operators MFDs that kind of flow out of the side of it and of their seat and do not hinder the access from the center is a nice touch. I mentioned that in the Zeus, which is much more. It would have been a huge problem if it had the full MFDs blocking the view and such of your crew, but in this case, because of the tiered nature of the area and the smallness of the MFDs, it wasn't that big of a deal. It's still nice to see. I am now next to the main elevator, and now I am in the armory. Now the armory has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 suit lockers, and then also has enough two-hand, one-hand, and heavy weapon stations to suit a small group of Marines or crew, if you will. The ship has a trend to do a dozen of everything. So this is, spoiler alert, this is the third time I've attempted this. So this is on the PTU at 3.24.3, and during IAU preview weekends with Save Stanton events kind of rolling in and out, and they're also putting some resources into the ePTU for 4.0 testing. The servers are a little iffy, and the ship itself is being worked on. The captain's area, you can see it's locked. It is currently a work in progress. They hinted that they said at the Q&A, when the Q&A comes out for this vessel, they will explain that they're reworking the captain's area. This is one of two man turrets that go up. There are two more that go down, and we'll go to them later, but they're across the hallway from each other, and they are easy access from the bridge or the main elevator. For very specific reasons, you're going to see me explain why the main elevator is pretty terrible, in my opinion, unless it is multiple crew members going on it, or if you are trying to move a large component into the bridge or something for whatever reason, or going to the surface. I'll explain why in a minute. But as you can see, there are 12 seats in the crew mess, not counting the additional little diner style booth in the left bottom right there that I really do appreciate. And then also this viewing area of a screen, so I'm guessing that you can watch ICC style type stuff all across spectrum information on that screen. It is not that large, but it is a nice touch. It's one of my favorite parts of the ship. I do want to note that the whole ship is rigged for regular, auxiliary lighting, and emergency lighting. And that room in particular, it's a shame the auxiliary lighting is so terrible. Right now, what I'm pointing to is the three different routes that can feel overwhelming at first until you understand they all go to the same place. So there's a horizontal hallway that these all lead into. So the crew mess, the main hallway leading to the bridge, and this crew quarters hallway all lead to the same place. They all lead to the same horizontal hallway that I'll show in a few minutes, and I will just keep in the back of your mind. You can see this quote working mirror, which is really a camera, and they don't go out of the way to hide it. There is a camera. You can't really see it too well in the darkness. It is a shower with a full toilet system. And each one of the crew rooms, which are bunked rooms, does not it has two beds in it, has its own bathroom, which is a nice touch. So yes, it is a shared bathroom, but at the same time, it is a private bathroom in a way, especially if you're only putting one crew member in each. Remember, the multiples of this ship, at least if you're not counting the captain's quarters, is 12. So there are 12 bunks. There are 12 crew. As you saw a moment ago, there is growth here, you know, at the end of the hallway, a nice little touch. You cannot access it at this time you can't take care of it. There are jokes about there should be maybe you need a 12th crew member just to be a gardener now. I haven't seen anything like that. Treat it like the fish tanks on other ships, which this ship does not have one, just to be crystal clear, unless the captain's quarters is added to it. This is that same horizontal hallway I talked about. If you learn that this ship is essentially a single line leading off of a box, you're gonna have a good time. We're currently standing in like a big box with this horizontal hallway at the northern end, for lack of, let's just use that as a directional, the front end. There are 2 ladders that lead downstairs. You can effectively ignore these unless the power is out, and they're just redundancies. So to the right is the crew mess, as I talked about. They all lead here. There's 2 doors in and out of the crew mess. There's 2 doors out of the crew quarters. There are 2 doors in and out of the hallway that leads to the bridge. There are 2 docking collars. The one I just passed is our left side docking collar. And yes, I do know ship directions, but I've had comments of people complaining about just use left and right to keep it simple. So that is one of the man turrets that goes down to the bottom of the ship. There is a second matching turret of that on the other side of the ship. These are the escape pods. There are, I believe it's 8 at the front. And then you can see there's 2 more here, and then there's 2 more on the other side of the vessel. They're not currently implemented, much like the captain's quarters. I'm sure they will come online over time. This is as we transit the box. If we're picturing a clock, we're going counterclockwise. So we're currently moving around the box, and here's the medical facility. Now, the medical facility has 4 tier 2 beds. Now, there is one major issue with these that I do have a concern with. You can regen, just to get that out of the way right away. You can regen on this vessel at all 4 beds. And at least in the past, when we've done testing, extensive testing during the someone who isn't me, the snarling masks at Van Duel's thing back in the day, we would use a Cuddy Red when it could regen. Piles of people would land on top of each other regenning, and it was a problem. And CIG kind of has no win scenario there, because if they make it so there's a queue, everybody's annoyed that they're taking forever to regen. If there isn't a queue, then they're landing on top of each other, injuring themselves, falling through the floor, whatever. So when you have 30 people landing on top of each other. So on a medical facility with 4 tier 2 beds, it seems like a lot, but you should split up your people across those beds. There is limited storage. It's like 200 micro SCUs or whatever per bed. And I believe that that will be stocked to the gills, not with people's stuff of the injured, but with medical supplies to keep the beds running. And that is a limitation on all medical in the future. As CIG has stated, there will need to be medical supplies on hand for that work. In fact, the Apollo has a whole little storage lockers and a medical office just to store, a medical storeroom just to handle all the medical supplies. And regen is one of the hardest hitting of the medical supplies. As we continue around the clock, we're going to the 3 o'clock. If we're thinking from the front of the ship, we find the brig, and there are 2 rooms on here. I think there is some confusion, and you'll note that they have a camera system just like in the medical place, although the medical one's broken right now. And you can log off on these beds. I wouldn't recommend it because you might wake up and then you can't access the door from the inside, but it is neat. There is this pass-through so people can get water and food and things like that, and who knows what else. But it is neat that you don't have to open the door to be able to pass through to these people that are stored here, and it does make it technically a bounty hunting ship. So if you're taking on a bounty and you need to keep them supplied while you go long distances, it is nice to have. Additional escape pods here. And then you can see the additional, as I mentioned earlier, bottom turret. So there are 2 from this area. So these are a little harder to get to than the front turrets, the top turrets. And for those who are not pirates, I regret saying this because it's going to make it a little more obvious of which side to attack this ship from. If you didn't already notice that there's one less PDC of the PDS system, so the point defenses are a little weaker on the bottom than they are on the top. Again, I apologize, but you watch the video, I'm neutral in this. And I'm trying to give owners and prospective owners some of the limitations of this vessel, as well as the good and the bad and everything else in between. Now I am going back around the clock because there's a little bit more here. And this box that we've been going around, this clock that we've been going around, I apologize for constantly trying to give new paradigms, is essentially surrounding a hangar. And I purposely have ignored the hangar up until now because I want to try to give you the image of like how it's actually going to go. Like, you're not going to spend a lot of time in the hangar unless you're operating the ships in the hangar or using them for transit and things. You can see some of the components, these very, very large in size components right next to the gravitation array. These will need to be repaired over time. And a lot of the rooms we pass through have relays. Even the hallway that is in the crew habitation has relays to replace. So this ship will be incredibly hard to get around to figure out what's going on. Luckily, these engineering terminals are practically everywhere down here. So this ship is like the story of two sides. There's like the story of the crew themselves that serve on the bridge and in the turrets and in the hangar. And then there's the engineering and the heavy weapons people. So heavy weapons in like the size 6 bespoke dual cannon at the front turret. It's like an energy cannon. And then also the size 10 missiles. Now, torpedoes before the chat lights up with 1,000 comments. So the biggest thing to take away is that some weaponry systems on here, like the smaller turrets and the big turret, tend not to use ballistic ammunition or anything like that, and that's thankful, because I'm very thankful for that, because as I'm searching for the camera that's inside the hangar. So as we proceed through the hangar, you will note this thing does have a air shield, so when you open the outer door, it is not treated like thankfully it's not an airlock system, so there is air shields that hold this hangar. So what I mean by that is, if you open that giant door and then somebody opens one of these lower doors, it will not vacate the entire ship of oxygen around the box. There's the camera. So there is a remote camera on the bridge that you will see. Basically the image I'm trying to show you here with the advanced camera, it looks exactly like this. So when you're sitting in the I think it's the rear gunner seat, and it might even be the co-pilot seat too, you can activate the remote camera, and that allows you to see what's going on. And that's important, because if you open this door right here and then you shoot right up that hallway with that door and the next door, you're in the bridge. So that's important. Now here's why I ignored the main hangar and the main elevator, because of these elevators. These elevators are my favorite in the world. They're fast and they get me to everywhere I want to go that isn't on this floor. I don't give a damn about that main elevator, to be blunt. I go to this, it says cargo bay, but really this is your weapons guys. So they can come upstairs, get food, then shoot back up and down these elevators and get back to work. There's a walkway in the middle alongside the 2 ramps. So I'm going to show you the engineering space because I feel obligated to. It is beautiful. It is whatever. This is a place you're going to have to know about for relays. Let me finish that topic real quick. So on this ship, there are many engineering stations, and that's important because those engineering stations will show you where the broken relays, where the broken modules, what the status, and how fast it's going to blow up because you're getting shot at, or just they're falling apart and long quantums and things coming in and out of systems. This is a very nice thing because you can hang out in different places around the ship on the service sides, as I have an issue with this elevator. You know, an issue with the service sides, and still be okay. I think that's important to note. And the forbidden hot tub here shows you what we're dealing with inside this cooling area. It's not just like this cooling fluids inside the main power. And in the preview, they show that go out of the water. I don't know how they did that. I don't know. Maybe when you turn the ship on and off, but I didn't have somebody on there at this moment when I was doing this ship tour. The additional water pools run the entire length of the room, and that's going to become a problem for people with PCs if you're still running like a 1060, you know, a 1060, hopefully a KO or something like that. But if you're running just something like that type of graphics, this room, because of the water, I think it's tessellization and the shaders and stuff, is going to really mess up things. There's the other elevator That's like the engineering elevator designed to carry a component in a player, you know, with a tractor beam ready to move it back and forth. That is nice. You can use that hallway, I think, for a tiny bit of storage, or especially if you're not planning to go into high G maneuvers anytime soon. But don't quote me on that in the future when things get more like real strict about where they have to be while you're moving. But the point is that in 0G, I could definitely see you hanging out down in this room if your computer doesn't get brought to its knees by it. There's a lot going on lighting wise. For the record, I'm on a 4070 Ti, so I'm not like in the most amazing thing, not a super, not any, but it is a newer type of graphics card. So as I walk through this hallway, there are ramps on both sides of the ship. I did not open the ramps because I'm on top of a building, and those ramps are all the way down to the ground, and they are huge. I have had clipping issues in the past with the C2M2, so I highly recommend you don't do that. But anyway, the elevators here lead from the cargo bay. Why is that useful? Because if you want to get more than the torpedoes that you already have in these cylinders, there are 6 in each cylinder, which is incredible, of the 4 cylinders, which gives you 24 torpedoes on demand, not counting the 4 in the tubes. So you have 28 size 10 torpedoes. This is the scale of these things. If you look at the player character and just consider what you're dealing with here, it is mind-bogglingly large. And at the end of the day, this is the reason this ship exists. It's this and the size 6 bespoke cannon to a lesser extent. And I'm going to show you, I am of the opinion that if you're going to skeleton crew this thing, by the way, you cannot shoot the torpedoes from the bridge, just to be crystal clear. I'm of the opinion that you're going to want to have somebody who runs this, and they run to the front and use the size 6 cannon on stuff that you don't want to blow through a size 10 torp at, or a size 10 torp is useless for. Size 10 torps are extremely slow, but they do pack a wallop. They're also risky because you can friendly fire yourself or friendlies with the said size 10s. They have a huge blast radius. So what I'm not saying like size 10 bomb size, but it is big. So there's a lot to think about here. You fire them via this remote turret. I was not able to get them to function on top of this building. I think if it detects a blockage or if the landing gears are applied, who knows? It doesn't let you fire them, even though it should be able to fire them from here. I was able to get them to work last night. I will splice in some video of that. So anyway, the point is that they use this remote turret camera, I guess you could call it, a remote camera that fires them like a turret, and they use 4 tubes, so you can fire 4 at a time before the cylinders have to reload through those cylinders that you saw. This is what happens when you're stuck and you can't get a gateway to get out. You start playing with a size 10 torp. Look at the friendly fire damage on the ship itself, and by the way, that was only 9k worth of damage. And I wanted to show you something that, unfortunately, there was so much damage from that single size 10 torp, it apparently killed somebody in the elevator. I guess they were AFK in the elevator of my own hangar. I don't know, but they somehow died. I apologize for that profusely. Here is the ramps themselves operating once again from the same play session. Apologies for the jitteriness. The Hangar plus the Polaris doesn't seem to like each other, especially when I'm trying to render video, capture video at the same time. I should say capture video. I wasn't rendering anything, but at this moment. But the ramps themselves are massive. There's actually little pathways on them warning you to stick to the pathways. Those kind of strips on the left and the right dead centers of the sides. And if you notice that ramp, there's 2 of these. It's kind of, well, it is a roll-on, roll-off system. It does not currently fit the Nova or the Ballista. They're too tall. The hangar door is slightly, the ramp door is slightly too narrow height-wise for them. So Toji, and just automatically, I apologize for you, man. I'm sorry to hear it. But this thing can fit an inordinate amount of stuff. And it's on a ramp system, so the things that can fit take up as much space as they want, and they can enjoy a massive cargo hold. And this cargo hold, as I've detailed already with my favorite pair of elevators, has a pair of elevators that runs straight to the hangar from here right above it. So you absolutely can fill your cargo with material like fuel boxes, ammunition canisters, size 2-3 missiles, and re-equip whatever's in the hangar. Additionally, I wanted to show the size 6 in action because in this video, the main video run of this third attempt, I did not have the capability to do so. So I tried out the size 6. Now, this is a bespoke weapon, as I said from the beginning, and that means that it is tuned separately and it cannot fit other size 6s. Now, technically, when you're inside the VMA, the vehicle management system, what you'll have to deal with is seeing that it looks like you can drag and drop something there, but because these are bespoke and because they seem to be like sized into the turret, I think that's just a glitch. I don't think you're going to be able to re-equip different types of weapon systems. I hope you can, for the record. I'm never the person trying to tell you you can't. So back to present day. So, you know, from the last night to today, you'll see again that we have a little less jittery size 10 station and size 6 that are right near each other, along with yet another damn relay. So honestly, the best efficiency workflow is to have a weapons officer down here, not an NPC, even if NPCs are in the future. I would have a single player down here that operates that size 10 Torp station and also operates the size 6 bespoke weapon and has a relay or two in their pocket, and they're tasked to handle that single relay there. Tractor beam, a multi-tool on their side, and a relay or two in their pocket, on their chest inventory, or if we can let them just rattle around, just leave them there. And the idea being that this person will just operate the front end bottom of the ship. And I feel like that would be really useful. A lot of the targets you're not going to need this size 6 for. You're gonna be hurling size 10 torps at and then running, or you're engaging with the rest of a fleet anyway. You most likely will not want to be in most scenarios where you're using a size 10 set of torps, like 4 size 10 torps, or a volley of 4 and then another volley of 4. You're trying to keep your distance, planning your route out to exit the battlefield, thinking of your next steps, because this thing isn't really a brawler. So the type of targets that you're going to want a size 10 is that damn elevator I hate. By the way, I hate this elevator so much. It takes forever to do anything. I literally just walk away. I walked away from it. That's how little I care about it. And if I wasn't doing a walkthrough of this ship, well, there we go. I'm going to be running. I was going to say I'd be running. It's just simpler. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 seconds. And now you're back upstairs, right outside of the corridor for this. The only thing that slows you down is this giant hangar door. And there you go. You're already walking towards the bridge, or the crew mess in my case, because I'm going to the crew mess for the end of this video. And then I think the hab. But the gist is that the things that you're going to use the size 10 torpedo on are most likely not going to be one of the things that you want to sit close enough for effective range on a size 6 pair of energy weapons. But the same things you don't want to blow a size 10 on, or are worthless to throw a size 10 at because they're too fast, the size 6 is going to rip apart. Especially anything that is in the multi-crew category, but not a fighter, not something small enough, you know, not a gladiator or something, not like a multi-crew in that sense. I'm talking about true multi-crew. A Connie. This thing is going to rip apart a Connie. So that's kind of my opinion on the size 6, is like those type of weapons. You may not want to blow through a Torp, especially if you're trying to turn around and have an attack on a reclaimer, for example. Like, you want its RMC or whatever lucrative resources it's gathered. A Pioneer, you don't want its 1000 SCU to be just vacated into space. You may want to use the size 6 to hammer it down, knock out its weak points like its engine systems, knock out its shields, to really send home the message, I'm running this fight. I could completely destroy you and then do ransom or take material. And on the flip side, for the good guys, being able to disable and then engage an enemy ship that may have hostages on board, or it may have a situation where you want to take the bounty alive to get a bigger bounty out of it. This is the auxiliary lighting I was talking about before. So I see this as a dual use ship. I kind of tipped my hat there a moment. I was kind of wrap it up there. That this ship is something where it can be used for good or evil in amazing ways. And I do think it's got more on the good side, because I can definitely see this as a rally point for a larger fleet that's more organized and more able to understand its limitations, and not like an ad hoc kind of pirate gang kind of rolling around. But this, at the end of the day, this ship has facilities and services that would certainly be useful to both. And I think this ship, no matter who you are, is going to be great for pyro. And I don't think that's a coincidence. This ship is what we need right now in the game. I don't see it as a character killer. I hate that saying. I see this more as a combat capital ship, and the first of its name, the first capital that's in game. It does not replace the Idris. It does not replace the Kraken that are king and queen of the logistics world. Kraken in space, Idris planet side and moon side. I'll leave my videos that kind of cover those topics in the ending, but the spoiler is the Idris has ramps, the Kraken does not in its current configuration. And also the way they're configured, they are better suited for one or the other. I don't try to make clickbait. If you want to hear more detailed discussions on those that are still very relevant, especially as we get closer and closer to these cap ships coming out, they are available. 3.24.3 is available to all in the PTU. And this ship particular is available to owners, Evos, and supposedly Wave 1, but I've heard mixed reviews on who in Wave 1. You may need to recopy your account, and it may take hours to recopy your account. So if you're going to play tonight or something like that, be sure to copy your account now if you're concerned you haven't copied in a while. That's going to do it for me for this. I hope you have a great weekend. For those celebrating Veterans Day, happy Veterans Day. For those just having a great weekend, I wish you a great weekend. And happy IAE coming up. This is exciting times. I am going to get another video out, probably at least one more this weekend, covering the Starlancer Max, and a lot of nuance on that ship. I'm very, very pleased. Somebody already stole my idea of putting chairs in the drop area in the dead center bottom. I'm still gonna do it, but I'm putting it in the recording now that I'm putting together the morning of Saturday. I don't want people thinking I took somebody else's idea, because I feel in my heart that's gonna be in like every single person's video. But that is how it goes. I took some time with this. I took 3 tries at it. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Please consider doing so. Thank you to my long-term subscribers for sticking around. It means a lot to me. And once again, have a great IAE, everyone.